So hello everyone, this is Mayank Kothari. Today we are going to start with an amazing concept, that is optimum portfolio theory. Although it's not that amazing, but you are going to remember it very well, as the most difficult questions or the most difficult formula to remember in the entire portfolio management chapter. So this is the only question, and the chances of this question being asked to be asked in the exam is very less. But yeah, we have to cover it because it is in the syllabus. Okay, so I will tell you the logic of optimum portfolio theory. The basic purpose of this entire theory is to help the investor to create optimum portfolio. Optimum means the best portfolio. And what is going to happen? You are going to create a portfolio, such a portfolio which will produce highest return amongst all the available options with lowest possible risk. So what are you going to do? There will be certain set of securities. Okay. First of all, you will find out the extra return to risk ratio. We can call it as reward to volatility ratio of all the securities, and we will find out for every 1 unit of risk or beta how much extra return all the securities are giving us. This particular concept is called as trainer's ratio. Trainer's ratio specifies Ri minus Rf in the numerator, which says the premium that you are getting, and in the denominator it asks to put risk in terms of beta. So for every 1 unit of beta, which security is providing the highest premium, we will find out. Okay, so we will first calculate, the very first step is to calculate the trainer ratio of all the available securities. Then arrange all the securities in the descending order of the trainer ratio. Why descending order? Because highest ratio is given the first preference, is said to be the best stock to consider from the point of view of risk. Okay, so the first step, calculate the trainer ratio. Second step, descending order, arrange all the securities in the descending order of the trainer ratio. Third step, calculate the C value, that is called as cutoff point, and there is a big formula for that we will have to almost say mug up. Okay, then after finding that cutoff point, we will have to after calculating the cutoff point of at all the securities, we will have to find out at which particular level the C value is highest. Okay, that highest C value and the securities above that will be selected for the optimum portfolio. And then you will have to find out how much of the total investment should be invested in the selected securities for that portfolio. And then you will have to find out the weight of all those securities. So these are certain steps that you need to follow. Let's have a look on the charts first to repeat these steps. See, if you go to the portfolio management chart, this is one thing given here, optimum portfolio theory. Now, the very first step that you are going to do is calculate trainer's ratio of given data, arrange in highest to lowest order, and then find out the cutoff point using given formula. So there are 3 steps covered in this particular part. 3 steps. Calculating the trainer ratio, then arranging in the highest to lowest ratio, and then calculating the cutoff point C. See, you will have to remember this formula, and there is no other option to that. But it is very easy to remember it. See, in the numerator, what you have to do is, just a second. Yeah, in the numerator, first you will be calculating the premium Ri minus Rf that every security is offering, and then that premium will be multiplied by the beta to calculate the extra premium that we should receive. This is just Ri minus Rf, the premium of the security. Then we are going to multiply it with the beta. Okay, so the entire numerator specifies the premium for systematic risk, and in the denominator you are going to put variance of the unsystematic risk. The standard deviation EI is nothing but the variance. So first calculate Ri minus Rf, then multiply it with the ratio of systematic risk to the unsystematic risk variance. Okay, then do it for all the securities and then make a total of it at every point of time. This is going to be a cumulative total. If you have the charts in front of you, please put a mark or arrow here and write down cumulative. This is very important. This summation is not the total, it is the cumulative summation. I will just explain that while solving the question. And then the entire numerator will be multiplied by the variance of the market, that is standard deviation of m square, and the same is repeated in the denominator, 1 plus standard deviation of m square. And then in the bracket or inside the summation symbol, you have the beta square in the numerator, that is the variance of the systematic risk divided by variance of the unsystematic risk. Systematic, unsystematic. And then you are going to again do the cumulatives at all the points, multiply it with the market variance as you did in the numerator, and then add 1. So this is somewhat you will learn over a period by practice. And also I am telling you, the chances of this question being asked in the exam is very less. So even if it gets asked in the exam, please ensure that you are doing your best possible and then leaving the question. The moment you calculate C values for all the stocks, you will find out the cutoff C asterisk. C asterisk will be the highest C value in the given data, above which all the securities will be selected, below which all the securities will be rejected for the portfolio, optimum portfolio. The securities thus selected for the optimum portfolio will go to the second step, and we will calculate ZI. ZI means the relative investment. Suppose we have 2 rupees and we have selected 2 securities, let's say A and F. Then Z value will give us a figure which will say that how much of this 2 rupees should be invested in A, let's say 1.2, and the balance will be in F. This is the relative investment of the total. This is the relative investment that the Z will give us. And based on this Z, we will calculate X. X is nothing but the weight. X is nothing but the weight of 1.2 in the total. So Z means 1.2 and summation of Z means 2. That is 60%. So it's very easy to find out X once we have calculated Z. And what is the formula for the relative investment? See, in the bracket you are going to take the trainer ratio. This Ri minus Rf divided by beta I is nothing but the trainer ratio. So the trainer ratio, the trainer values that you have calculated in the very first step, minus the C asterisk, the highest value of C, multiplied by the systematic risk divided by the unsystematic risk variance. That's it. Very simple. Over a period you will learn about it. So Zi will be calculated like this, and then this weight is very simple. Now we are going to again repeat all the steps by solving a particular question. Have a look on this. See, this is the question in front of you. Ramesh wants to invest in the stock market and he has got the following information about individual securities. Security A, B, C, D, E, F, expected return, beta, and standard deviation square CI. Please put a arrow here and write down unsystematic risk, and that too variance of unsystematic risk. Variance of unsystematic risk. It's already in the square format. Market index variance. Underline the word variance. A lot of people will make this mistake of assuming this as standard deviation of m only, whereas this is not just the standard deviation of m, it is standard deviation of m square because the variance is written. And the risk-free rate of return is 7%. What should be the optimum portfolio assuming no short sales? Means you cannot short any of the security. You should only buy it. So the portfolio will only be constructed by buying the securities. And there is a logical reason behind not allowing the short sales, because at that time, if you allow the short sale, then the number of possibilities of creating the different portfolios will increase, and it will be very difficult to create an optimum portfolio at that time, because a single percentage of change in short selling by B can increase the investment in the other securities. It's just like that. Okay. So there are certain steps that you need to remember in the optimum portfolio theory. The first step is to calculate the trainer ratio. Okay. I will just summarize all the steps here, and you should also write it just beside this table in the compiler, so that the moment you will revise this question, you will just understand what are the steps. First, calculate the trainer ratio, then arrange in the descending order. Then the third thing that you have to calculate is calculate the value of C. Highest C will be cutoff point and it will be denoted as C asterisk. Okay. Now what will happen in the fifth step? Reject all stocks below C asterisk. It means accept all stocks above and including C asterisk. Then calculate ZI, then calculate XI. That's it. Simple. The last step will give you the weight of each security in the portfolio. So we are going to follow these steps. Let's have a look. And I'm going to solve this question since it's a big question. This is going to be our optimum portfolio. The very first part. Let's calculate the trainer ratio. Do you know how to calculate the trainer ratio? Sir, it's very simple. Let's go through the answer itself because you are anyhow going to refer the compiler. So let's go through the answer itself. We are going to do all the marking in the compiler itself. So the very first step is to calculate the trainer ratio. Do you remember the formula of trainer ratio? Trainer ratio says that how much is the premium that we are getting for 1 unit of beta. Remember that, beta. See, if you come to this point, these are the stocks. And you don't have to write down all the RI, beta and everything here. Just write down the formula RI minus RF is equal to beta I. Put the values and you will find out the, you will come to the conclusion that these are the trainer ratio. Now this is what 5.33% of the premium you are getting for beta value of 1. You are getting 2.5% of the premium for beta value of 2. 1. Not just, it's the beta value will be same in all the stocks. Now the seconds, this is the first step. Very easy. You have RI and RF and beta, all the figures in the question. See, the securities return is this, risk-free rate of return is this, and the beta values are also given. So you can easily calculate the trainer ratio. Now, let me just arrange this in the descending order. So let's rank it. We have already seen how to rank the portfolios according to the trainer ratio, Sharpe ratio and Jensen's alpha. So the first rank will go to A, second will go to F, third will go to B, fourth will go to D, fifth will go to C and sixth will go to E. So basically we are going to arrange according to the ranking. So first is A, second is F, third is B, fourth is D and fifth is C and the last one is E. Okay, you are okay with this? Okay, so the second step is now completed. The third step is to calculate the value of C. Now first we should remember the formula of C unless we have not practiced it. We will not be able to remember it. So let's write down the formula of C. It is very, very important to write from with your own hand to remember anything. Without writing and just by reading and watching will not help. The writing will help you like anything. So standard deviation of M square is the first part. Then summation of, in the numerator it will be RI minus RF into beta I, that is systematic risk, divided by standard deviation of CI square, that is nothing but the variance of unsystematic risk. And in the denominator you will write down 1 plus standard deviation of M square again and then summation of beta I square divided by standard deviation of CI square. So you will see in the denominator we have taken the square of both systematic and unsystematic risk. Okay, but in the numerator only beta I should be taken, not the square of that. Okay, see, we are not going into the derivation of this because this is a lot of time. It requires a lot of time, and practically speaking, since this is a fast track batch and since the exams are very near and the chances of these questions are very low to be asked in the exam, that's why we are not going into deep into that. So there are points, like in the entire batch, there will be some points where I have to decide like this, whether it is worth spending this much of the time in this question and concept. And even after doing it, if you are not able to do it in the question exam, then it will all be waste of time. Okay, so let's start with the first step. We will first calculate Ri minus Rf into beta I, and then we will divide it with the unsystematic risk square. Okay, so let's find out. This is Ri. Then we are going to multiply it with the beta. Okay, whatever will be the answer, we are going to divide it with the standard deviation of Ci square. That means Ei Ci square, unsystematic variance. So what all you have to do is Ri minus Rf multiplied by beta divided by unsystematic risk variance. You will get this figure. Calculate for all the other securities in the same manner. The premium multiplied by beta divided by unsystematic risk variance. Okay, so you will be completed with this much of the step, the one that I have marked yellow. Okay, you are done with this. Now just come a step outside. So now the symbol is summation. This summation does not mean the total of all, it means the cumulative at every step. Cumulative at every step. So that, what does that mean? See, you have calculated Ri minus Rf into beta I divided by standard deviation of Ei square. So these are the values. Now you are going to do the cumulative of this. So since this is the first value, the cumulative of it will be the same 0.3, 0.3. But then 0.3 plus 0.35 will be the answer to the second part. What does that mean? It means this 0.65 includes both the securities A and F. Why? Because now this is where I am helpful to. I am there to guide you. Why? Because if you are choosing security F to be included in the portfolio, then surely A will also deserve to be included in the portfolio because A had a higher trainer ratio than F. So if at any point of time you are including any security, let's say we are including D in the portfolio, that means A, F and B also deserves to be included in the optimum portfolio because A, F and B gives higher return per unit of beta as compared to D. And that's why we say that wherever we are going to stop, we are going to include that and the above securities in the portfolio, optimum portfolio, and below securities will get rejected automatically. Okay, what is the third step? The third cumulative will be like this: 0.3, 0.35 and 0.50. The total of all this. Okay, and the fourth cumulative will be like this: 0.3, 0.3, 0.35, 0.5 and 0.20. Did you get to know how to calculate this? And if you have understood what all figures are included at any point of time, you can just add plus 1.35 to get 1.60 plus 1.60 to get 1.66. If you want to reduce the calculation, you can do that easily because rest of the figures are included in 1.35. Just add 0.25 in it and you will get this answer. Just add 0.06 in 1.6, you will get this answer. So this is what the summation of. Now we have reached at this stage, one step outside. Now this entire figure will be multiplied with the standard deviation of m square. We cannot call this figure as a numerator because it is yet to be multiplied with the standard deviation of m square. So what we are going to do, we are going to just create a column for our sake or our help. So what are we going to do? We are going to multiply. Now this much of the steps are completed, right? Now we are going to multiply this yellow column with the market variance. And you know what is the market variance? The market variance itself is 10. Next time the question is asked in the exam, they might not give you it in the variance format. So you might also have to do the calculation first and then use it. So remember that. So now what we are going to do, the market variance, multiply it with the market variance. Multiply it with the standard deviation of m square. So what is going to happen? Multiply it with 10. We are going to multiply all the figures with 10. That means multiplying it with the market variance. Let's write down the values. This will be 3, 6.5, 11.5, 13.5, 16 and 16.6. Got it? Now the second, we have completed the numerator part. So this is going to be the numerator. If you are doing the calculation, make sure you add one more column after this one, which is of the numerator, and write down all these values. Then let's come to the denominator. Denominator is very easy, sir. Beta I square, we are going to go from inside to outside, right? So beta I square divided by unsystematic risk variance. We have the variance of unsystematic risk already, but we will have to do the square of beta. So 1.5 square divided by 40. 1.5 square divided by 30. 2 square divided by 20. Let's do the calculation. These are going to be the answer. You can just try doing it. Couple of 1.5 square divided by 40. So it goes to 0.056. Okay. So this is the beta I square divided by standard deviation of EI square. Now we are done with this in this step. Get a step outside and you will realize now again we will have to do the cumulative of all these figures. So let's start doing the cumulative. In the next column, the only thing which is there is the cumulative figure. So we are again going to do the total. 0.056 will remain as it is in the very first row. In the next row, it will be 0.056 and 0.075 total. In the next row, it will be 0.056, 0.075 and 0.20. And in such a manner, we are going to calculate the cumulatives. At any point of time, you can just simply add the previous cumulative to come to the new cumulative. Okay. Then one more column we are going to add here, just like the numerator, we are going to add a denominator column. We are going to call it as a denominator. And the only thing that we are going to do is multiply it with the standard deviation of m square 10 and add 1 to that. Because in the denominator, we have this extra figure 1. So we are going to multiply it with the 10 and add 1. What is going to happen? This will be 6. If you multiply it with 10, 1.56. Getting it? This is going to be 2.31. Yes. This is 2.31, 4.31, 5.31. 7.39 and 8.11. You can just do it. Once you get to know about couple of calculation in the beginning, it will be very easy if you apply the smart mind for rest of the calculation. So we have the numerator and denominator ready. Let's do the numerator divided by denominator. Very simple. The numerator divided by denominator. What is the numerator, sir? 3 divided by 1.56. It comes to 1.923. Right. Then 6.5 divided by 2.31, 2.814. 11.5 divided by 4.31, 2.668. 13.5 divided by 5.31, 2.542. And all the figures can be calculated like this. These are the values of C. Now, this is the third step that we have completed. See, we have completed trainer ratio. We have arranged it in the descending order. We have calculated value of C. Now, highest C will be the cutoff point and marked as C asterisk. So, find out the highest value of C in this. Can I say this is the highest value of C? $2.814, because all the other values are below 2.814. So this is going to be C asterisk. We are done with the fourth step as well. The fifth step says that reject all the securities below the C asterisk and accept all the securities above C asterisk and including the C asterisk as well. So for the optimum portfolio, we are rejecting B, D, C and E and we are accepting F. What does that mean? Accepting F means, see, I will tell you. This 2.814 was calculated by numerator this value 6.5 and the denominator this value 2.31. Now understand this 6.5 comes from this calculation which was the cumulative of A and F. That means 2.814. 2.814 includes two securities. This is not the value of only F. This is the value of A and F. See, I will tell you. Just a second. If you remember, the moment we did cumulative, we also mentioned one thing. We also meant one thing there, that the securities that are included in this is A only. In the second one, it is AF. In the third one, it is AFB. AFB. Then AFBD. AFBDC. Am I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last one was A, F, B, D, C and E. This is how we did all the calculation. So what does that mean? That means if we are selecting 2.814, we are selecting actually A and F securities for the optimum portfolio theory. This is our fifth step. Right, we completed 5 steps, only 2 steps are left. That means calculate the value of ZI for the securities you have selected in the 5th step. A and F. So what is the formula for ZI? Systematic risk divided by unsystematic risk variance in bracket trainer ratio minus C asterisk. You will have to remember that. These are, and we are going to do it only for the 2 securities that we have selected. These calculations, ZI calculation will be done only for the 2 securities that we have selected for the optimum portfolio. So the trainer ratio of ZA means the A security minus C asterisk. Trainer ratio of A minus C asterisk, and outside it is going to be beta of A, standard deviation of A square, C AI square, CI square, whatever you want to take. So unsystematic variance in the denominator, systematic risk in the numerator, trainer ratio in the bracket and the C asterisk. Similar is going to happen with security F. We are going to take this one as the beta of F. Coincidentally, the beta of A and F are same. So that's why 1.5 and 1.5 are repeated. These are not the same figure. It is just the repeated because the same is the beta of both the securities. Now in the denominator, we have taken unsystematic variance of security F, trainer ratio of F, and then we are going to calculate these values. What is these values? This is nothing but the relative investment. I will just write down. It means if we have 0.9435 plus 0.0928 0.18715 rupees, then invest 0.09435 rupees in A and rupees 0.0928 in B. Out of 0.18715 rupees, invest 0.09435 in A and the rest in F. That is what the meaning of relative investment is. And we can easily calculate now the weightage of this 0.09435 in this 0.18715. And then we are going to calculate the value of X. X is nothing but the weight of that security in the total. So 0.09435 divided by the total. That means what? The weight. So 50% of the total investment should be invested in A and 49.59 in F. And that is when an optimum portfolio will be created. What does that mean? It means no other portfolio from the given the data given above will give higher return and lesser risk than the portfolio with A having 50.41% and F 49.59%. So this is the only portfolio which will give you whatever the return is, highest return and lowest risk according to the theory. If you create any other portfolio using the above data, no portfolio will give you this much of the return or this much of the risk or below this risk. So return of any of the portfolio other than this will not go beyond this one. Risk will not go below this portfolio's risk. That is what the meaning of optimum portfolio theory is. So these are the steps that you need to follow. This was the little technical question, but you need to remember the step. The first thing is to calculate the trainer ratio. Second thing is to arrange it in the descending order. Third step is to calculate the C value. Fourth step is to find out the highest value of C asterisk. That will be cutoff point. Fifth step is to reject all the securities below C asterisk and include all the above securities and including that also for the optimum portfolio theory. So for all those selected securities, calculate ZI, that means relative investment, and calculate XI, that means proportion of those investment. XI, ZI. Okay. So we are done with this question. So little technical question, not much of the logic or we can say in the formulas and all. But yeah, we had to complete that. Let's move on to question number 89 now. So hi guys, welcome back after the break, and now let's talk about the next concept, which is portfolio rebalancing theory. Do you know what is the meaning of rebalancing? It means that once you have taken all the decision, you have done all the analysis, you have selected the securities, you have invested in that, and now is the time that from time to time you keep a watch on your portfolio, whether it is going according to your target or according to your aim or we can say according to your plan. And if it is not going according to your plan, you need to take action immediately in order to reshuffle the portfolio. Reshuffle means what? You may have to buy some securities and sell other securities so that you can rebalance your portfolio and bring it back according to your plan. Okay. So what happens is you make a plan in the beginning, accordingly you select the securities and invest in the market. But if the plan doesn't work well, or if you see that portfolio is going out of the portfolio that you have made is going out of the plan, then you surely need to take an action. Action means selling some securities and buying other securities so that you bring it back to the plan. And this keeps going on and on and on for a period till you sell the securities. So this is called as rebalancing the portfolio. Rebalancing is done in order to make sure that we earn the profit that we have desired. Okay. So there are three basic policies under portfolio rebalancing theory. The first policy is buy and hold policy. It is also said that it is a do nothing policy. That means you invest in the shares and just forget about it. It's a plan which has been followed by Warren Buffett and many great investors in their life. This gives you the best return. They feel that the short term ups and downs are a part and parcel of the investment and you should forget about it. So if you keep an investment for a long period of time, if you buy a particular security or make a portfolio and forget about it, keep a hold on that for a long period of time, then you surely gonna earn a lot of money in that. So that policy is called as buy and hold policy. The name is do nothing policy. You don't have to do anything in that. And so that there are not going to be any questions on that in our chapter also, because the policy itself says that do nothing and we are not going to do anything about it. The second policy is the constant ratio plan. Let's go to the chart first. I think it will be very easy from there to explain. See, portfolio rebalancing theories. The first policy is buy and hold policy, do nothing approach. The second policy is constant mix policy, or we can say constant ratio plan. What happens is that whenever you make an investment, let's say 5 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, you divide that entire amount in a risky investment and risk free investment. So let's say for example you are investing 5 lakh rupees, and out of that 5 lakh rupees you decides to keep a ratio of 70-30. So 70% you are going to invest in the equity shares, that comes to around 3.5 lakh, and 30% you are going to invest in the risk free investment. So 5 lakh multiplied by 30% goes to 1.5 lakh. So 3.5 lakhs in the risky investment, 1.5 lakhs in the risk-free investment. What happens after a particular point is that, let's say after a month or so, the prices of the equity share that you had invested in will be changed. And if you now calculate the ratio will also get changed. Let me take you to an example first. See, let's say for example, this is the starting point at which you have invested in equity share and risk-free security. Okay, these are the risky investment, these are the risk-free investment, and the amount of investment is 3.5 lakh and 1.5 lakh. After a month, what has happened, that risk-free investment is constant, it will be 1.5 lakh itself, but the equity shares prices has been changed, and changed according to the market direction. And now let's say for example it is 4.5 lakhs. It has increased. You have gained 1 lakh rupees. That's a good news. So it is 4.5 lakh rupees. But if you will do the total of it, it will come to 6 lakh rupees. Right. But your strategy was to keep 70% of the total investment in risky stocks and 30% of the investment in risk-free. Okay. So the total was 5 lakh. If you want to keep following that strategy, the balance in the equity share should be 70% of 6 lakhs, and that should be 4.2 lakhs, right? 7 into 6, 4.2, and 30% of 6 lakhs comes to 1.8. See, after a month when you saw the portfolio, it was looking like this, but according to strategy it should look like this. So if you want to bring that portfolio back to the plan, the total will be 6 only, don't worry about it, but the ratios are not according to your strategy, right? So if you want to bring that plan, bring that portfolio back to the plan, you will have to reduce the shares worth 30,000 in risky investment. So you will have to sell the shares worth 30,000 rupees. Can you see that? From 4.5 lakhs to 4.2 lakhs, you will have to sell the shares worth 30,000, and you will have to invest the same in the risk-free assets. This is what the rebalancing action is. Sell equity share worth 30,000, buy risk-free investment worth 30,000, and back to the plan now. Now you can forget about the portfolio. Then again, you will come back after a month. Let's say after a month you are going to come back, you are going to see the portfolio value. It might be something like from 4.2 to it can go to any point. Let's say for example it goes to 5 lakh, or let's reduce the plan. Let's reduce the value. It goes to 4, and this is 1.8. The total is 5.8 only. So there is a 20,000 rupees of the loss in the total portfolio value. But again, if you want to get it back to the plan or according to strategy, what you have to do is you have to keep the balance. You will have to keep the balance of 70% of 5.8 lakhs into the equity, and that comes to, let me just do the calculation, 4.06, and this will be 1.74, 5.8. So the total will be same, because you are doing nothing. You are not investing any further, like you are not bringing new money into the portfolio. You are just reshuffling it. This is called as rebalancing the portfolio. This is the portfolio, and after the rebalancing, this is going to look like this. Okay, so what is the action that you need to take in this case? You have to invest 6,000 rupees, buy equity shares worth 6,000 rupees and sell equity risk free security worth 6,000 rupees to bring that portfolio back to the strategy, according to the strategy. So are you getting it? This is called as portfolio rebalancing. This is called as following the constant ratio plan, because constantly you are keeping a balance of 70 into risky equity share and 30% in risk free shares, risk free stocks you can say, or FDs and all that, risk free assets. And this is a situation before rebalancing, this is a situation after rebalancing, this is a situation before rebalancing, this is a situation after rebalancing, and this is the action for the rebalancing. The total will always remain same in that constant ratio plan. Okay, so the first plan that you heard about the portfolio rebalancing was buy and hold policy. The second plan that we discussed just now is the constant ratio plan, or you can say constant mix. The third thing is little subjective. The third policy is little subjective. We are going to call it as CPPI. What does that mean? It means constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. So this is the CPPI policy, constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. Now what happens according to this is, this policy specifies what should be the equity value at the time of rebalancing, equity value in the portfolio. See, according to this formula, the equity value should be the multiplier in bracket the current portfolio value minus floor value. Now please give me an opportunity to explain. This is called as the multiplier, and this will be given in the question because this represents risk factor. If you can take high risk, the multiplier will be higher. So if the multiplier is 2 and my multiplier is 4, that means I can take high risk in the same investment as you are going to consider. So whatever you are considering in that same equity share or same investment, I can take higher risk, so I can invest a lot of money, like more money than you in the same equity shares. Second, this is going to be the current portfolio value. Current means that on the date of rebalancing. We'll learn about it in the question. And this is floor value. It means the maximum your portfolio can go down. Okay, so this should be the equity value in your portfolio at all point of time. Let's take an example. Let's say that you have 10 lakh rupees. Okay, and the maximum your portfolio can go down is 7 lakh rupees, the maximum loss that you can have. So to start with, what should be the equity value? The equity value should be, and let's take the multiplier as 2. Just an example. 2 is the multiplier. 10 minus 7. 3 lakhs. 10 minus 7. 3 lakhs multiplied by 2. That means the equity balance should be 6 lakhs. So invest 6 lakhs in the equity share and the balance in the risk-free security. 4 lakhs. So the total will be 10 lakhs to start with. After a month, let's say, after a month, the equity value becomes 5 lakhs and the risk-free security is 4. The current portfolio value is 9 now, right? And at this point of time, this is the situation before rebalancing, right? Now we will have to calculate the equity value here also, which is nothing but multiplier in bracket current portfolio value minus floor value. So what is the multiplier? 2. Current portfolio value 9. Floor value will always be same, which is 7. It will be same. So because this floor value was estimated as the maximum fall in the entire year, let's say for example. So the first month and the second month both will come, third month, fourth month also both will come under this thing also itself. So 7 lakh will remain as a floor value. So what is the answer now? 4 lakhs. So what does that mean? The equity value should be 4 lakh after the rebalancing. That means sell equity worth rupees 1 lakh. And what is going to happen to that 1 lakh rupees? We are going to invest that in risk free, buy risk free assets rupees 1 lakh. So this is the rebalancing action that we have taken, right? This is the rebalancing according to constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. Rest we are going to learn in the questions itself. So there are 3 policies in portfolio rebalancing. The first one is do nothing approach, or we can say buy and hold policy. The second policy is the constant ratio plan, or you can say constant mix plan, or the third one is the constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. Okay. Let's come to the question number 89. This is based on the constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. We are going to read it and we are going to then solve it. Now in this question, if you have read it, the question says that a person named Indira has 3 lakhs rupees and she wants to invest that in the market with the policy, with the constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. Let's have a look. She wants to invest in the share market with a rebalancing target of every 10 days. So in the example that I gave you here, we were rebalancing after every month. In this part, she is rebalancing after every 10 days. Okay. And this policy is going to be followed for a month, or 1 month from now. The present Nifty is 5326. This is the market, 5326. The minimum Nifty, understand the logic, the minimum Nifty within a month can at most be 4793.4. So right now it is 5326. It can go down to 4793.4. This is going to give you the floor value. She wants to know as to how she should rebalance her portfolio under the following situations. According to the theory of constant proportion portfolio insurance policy, using 2 as the multiplier. So 2 is the multiplier, CPPI is the policy. And now we want to start immediately. See, immediately to start with, 10 days later being the first day of rebalancing, if Nifty falls to this much, 10 days further from the above date if the Nifty touches to this much. For the sake of simplicity, this is very important. I will tell you why. Because she wants to invest in the equity share and the data is not given according to the equity share. It is given for the market. So there has to be some relationship between the assets in which we want to invest and the data which is given to us, which is the market. Okay. For the sake of simplicity, assume that the value of her equity component, the equity in which she will invest, will change in tandem with that of the Nifty. Now, underline will change in tandem with that of the Nifty. What does that mean? What is that concept which says that if the Nifty is changing this much, equity will change this much? Tell me. This is called as the beta. In short, they want to tell us that the beta is 1 because they are clearly saying that the change in the Nifty will be exactly equal to the change in the equity component. Sorry, the change in equity component will be exactly equal to the change in Nifty, which is where the beta is 1. And the risk-free security in which she is going to invest will have no beta. In the second part, they have specifically mentioned that there is 0 beta. But in the first part, instead of writing that the beta is 1, they have mentioned it in a particular statement. Now here the person who has this habit of mugging up the things will not understand what is exactly this is. But those who understands the meaning of beta will be clearly able to, or in a short time, they will be able to link this concept with the beta. Okay. Let's move on. So basically what they have told is the change in the Nifty given above will be exactly equal to the change in your equity component. So let's start with the question first. It's very simple. The very first part that we are going to do is we will have to find out the floor value. See, it is 5326 now, and it can go in a month, it can go down to 4793.4. The moment you will calculate the difference, it will come to 10%. If the Nifty is changing by 10%, equity will also change by 10% because the beta is 1. Cool. Now, if we invest the entire amount in our equity, so the maximum equity portfolio can go down is 10% to 2,70,000. Am I right? This 2,70,000 will become the floor value, that the maximum your equity value can go down. So this has become floor value. Current portfolio value is 3 lakhs and the multiplier is 2. Now let's calculate. If we want to start immediately, let's find out the equity component. Okay. So to immediately start with, investment in the equity will be 2 in bracket 3 lakh minus 2,70,000, which comes to 60,000. So Indira may invest 60,000 in equity and balance 2,40,000 in risk-free security. That's it. The story is over. Now you go to home, come back after 10 days and see what has happened to your 60,000 rupees of the equity. See, you invested in the equity when the market was going at 5326 and now it is 5122.96. Now you tell me, how much percentage has the market gone down or fallen? You will have to calculate. Why we need that? Because we want to calculate the fall in our equity component, which is exactly equal to the fall in the market. So see, before rebalancing, if you will look at your portfolio will be 60,000 when it was 5326. When the market was 5326, your equity value was 60,000. And if the market is 5122.96, this much will be your equity component. This is what you will have to write down. Okay, let's forget this entire scenario written here. Let's solve this question from zero. I think that will be good enough to learn. Okay, let's forget this. Let's solve this question according to our method or our presentation. This is question number 89. Now what we are going to do, this was the first thing to immediately start with. We will write down equity component, which is multiplier in bracket current portfolio value minus floor value, which comes to 2 in bracket 3 lakhs minus 2,70,000, that is 60,000. So this much will be the investment in equity, and the balance you will write down as risk-free securities. You are going to put the money in risk-free securities, and this is how you have made a portfolio of 3 lakhs. Okay, second part. What is going to be the second part? See, after 10 days, how to calculate the value of our equity component. This is going to be before rebalancing. We are just analyzing the current situation. Equity value. You had invested 60,000 rupees in equity when the index was going 5326, and now the index is standing at 5122.96. So when you do this calculation, you will automatically get to know that the percentage fall in the market is equal to the percentage fall in the equity, and your equity value will come to 57,713. This is nothing but changing the equity component equal to change in the equity component, which is equal to the change in the market. If the market has gone down by some percentage, we have decreased the value of equity by that much percentage itself. Risk-free security, it was 2,40,000 rupees. Now your total portfolio value is 2,97,713 after 10 days of first investment. Now what we are going to do? We are going to rebalance the portfolio, and the portfolio after rebalancing should look like this. See, what should be the equity component? It's simple, sir. Multiplier in bracket current portfolio value minus floor value. Multiplier is 2, the current portfolio value is 297,713 and the floor value is 2,70,000. Do you agree with this? That comes to 55,426. 55,426. And then risk-free security. How much will be the risk-free security? It's very simple, sir. The amount you are reducing in the equity will get invested in the risk-free security. So calculate 57,713 minus 55,426. That's 2,287. It will be 2,40,000 plus the difference that you are reducing or selling in equity. So it will be 2,42,287. Ultimately, your total portfolio value will remain same. It will not change after rebalancing. Understand the difference. This is not changing. The change is in the equity and the risk-free component. Now, whatever we have done, this is called as rebalancing. This is called as rebalancing. So what we will write here? What are you going to write? What are you going to write here? Sell equity worth 2,287 and invest the same in risk-free security. Getting it? Now what are you going to do? Just go to home and sit back and relax. After 10 days again, you are going to come back and do the same activity. We are going to write down 10 days further. We will first analyze the current situation of the portfolio. This will be called as before rebalancing situation. So you had an equity balance of 55,426. Remember, 55,426 when the market was 5122.96. Am I right? We are going to now compare the current situation with the situation 10 days back. And now the index has touched 5539.04. See. $5992728. In fact, this is your current value of equity, and the risk-free security will be the same as you had left 10 days back. It is 242,287. 242,287, and the total will be 302215. Am I right? So this is your current portfolio value. Now what you are going to do? You are going to do the rebalancing, and we are going to write down what is going to happen after rebalancing. How the portfolio will look after rebalancing. So equity is equal to multiplier in bracket current portfolio value minus floor value 2 in bracket 302215 minus 2,70,000, and that comes to 64,429. Let me just check once again. 64,430 in fact. Risk-free security. What will be the balance in risk-free security? 242,287 minus. Why minus? Because you are increasing your position in equity. That means you are buying equity and selling risk-free security, because the total has to be same. 64430 minus 59928. That's 239,785. And the balance total will be 302,215. Write down the action. Buy equity worth rupees 4502 and we can say dispose of risk-free security worth rupees 4502. Now this just one action will bring your entire portfolio back to your strategy. So this is what the portfolio rebalancing is. Every time you are going to check whether the portfolio is on the track or not, and if it is not on the track, you are going to sell something, buy something else to bring it back to the track. Have you understood this concept? See. Offload 4502 of the risk-free security and divert to equity, means buy equity for the same amount. That's it. Every time we are going to do this only. This was the entire question. Let's have a look on this question. Mrs. Sunidhi. This question is based on the rest of the two concepts of the portfolio rebalancing theory. One is the buy and hold policy and the second one is the constant ratio plan. Okay. Before starting this question, let me just tell you about something about the mutual fund. What happens is, let's say this is equity, and what happens in equity, for every share you have a market price. So we call it as market price per share. But what happens in the mutual fund is, instead of market price we call it as NAV. NAV means net asset value, and instead of share we call it as unit. Okay, so NAV per unit and the market price per share is one and the same thing. The only difference is the market. It is equity market, that is mutual fund market. Okay, in this question we have been given with the NAVs per unit. That means you can consider it as the market price per share. Rest of the information regarding what is mutual fund, what is unit, how to calculate NAV, everything will be discussed in the next chapter. Nothing more than this will be required as a knowledge in this question for you. Okay, let's read this question. Miss Sunidhi is working with an MNC at Mumbai. That's great. She's in Mumbai. She's well versed with the portfolio management techniques and wants to test one of the techniques on an equity fund. See, I will just repeat this. She is well versed with the portfolio management technique. She knows everything about the portfolio management. She might have done CA and wants to test one of the techniques on an equity fund she has constructed and compare the gain and losses, whatever the gain and losses that will happen from the technique with those from a passive buy and hold strategy. See, I will tell you one thing. The three strategies that I mentioned to you, 1, 2 and 3. The first one is buy and hold policy. Second is the constant ratio plan, and the third one is the CPPI. Okay, forgive me for the handwriting. See, you don't have to do anything in this case, but you have to continuously stay active and keep on buying and selling something or the other in these two policies. So that's why this is called as active policy and this is called as passive policy. Do you understand the difference? Passive means you don't have to involve yourself actively. That's a passive. Passive income, active income. See, teaching. I have to be there present all the time if I want to earn. That's active income. Job, active income. Service, CA, practice, teaching, doctor, engineer, active income. But what is passive income? Business. If you set the system and then everyone is working for you, they are bringing in the money. Passive. What is more example of the passive income? Rent. You don't have to do anything every month. Yeah, obviously there is some kind of activeness involved. I'm not saying the activeness is zero. In business also, in the initial year, you will be working very hard, you will be involving yourself actively, but once the business is set, you don't have to be active anymore. That's passive income. In the same way, when you don't have to do anything, this is a passive policy, these two will be active policy. So the question says like this, please have a look once again. So she wants to test this policy with those from a passive buy and hold strategy. What does that passive means? Don't have to do anything. The fund consists of equities only. The equity fund in which she has invested, it consists of equity, and the ending NAV means the ending market price of that fund or per share she constructed for the last 10 months are as given below. On December 2008, the price was 40, January 9 price was 25. So every month ends price is given to you in this question. Okay? Now assume Sunidhi had invested a notional amount of rupees 2 lakh equally in equity fund, just a second, equally in equity fund and a conservative portfolio in the beginning of December 2008. Assume Sunidhi had invested a notional amount of 2 lakh rupees equally in the equity fund and a conservative portfolio. See, they have not written the word each. If they would have written 2 lakhs each equally in equity and conservative, then 2 plus 2 4 was the answer. But 2 lakhs equally in equity means 1 lakh in this, 1 lakh in this. Okay. In the beginning of December 2008, now this is a mistake in the question. They said beginning of the December 2008, but the first NAV that we have been given is the ending NAV, not the beginning NAV. And they started with 40. So consider this as ending of December 2008 instead of beginning. That's a fault in the question itself. And that the total portfolio was being rebalanced each time the NAV of the fund increased or decreased by 15%. See, whenever the NAV is increasing or decreasing by 15%, only then you are rebalancing. This is the condition. Otherwise, you will not do anything. Okay. You are required to determine the value of the portfolio, not just the equity, not just the bond, but the value of the entire portfolio for each level of NAV following the constant ratio plan. You just have to follow the constant ratio plan and tell us what is the value of the portfolio every time. Have a look on the answer. My presentation will be little different than what the institute has done. We are going to discuss both. Let's put NAV here and percentage change here. Okay. Then we are going to divide the entire situation in before and after rebalancing. So before rebalancing, after rebalancing, and maybe this is going to be our action that we want to take. Let's first write down. The NAV was 40 in the beginning, no change as it is the start only. And we are going to invest in equity, bond, total. Am I right? Cool. And after rebalancing also it will be equity, bond and total. Okay. So we have invested 1 lakh Okay, one more thing which is required is we need a space, short of space we can say, action, and this is going to be closing units. Let me just reduce the space. Equity, bond, total. Action and closing units. Units means the number of share in terms of equity shares. Let's start. 1 lakh you have invested in equity, 1 lakh you have invested in bonds. The total is 2 lakhs. Am I right? Okay, sir. Then after rebalancing, there is no need to rebalance, right? Because this is the first date. How many units you have purchased from the equity? 1 lakh divided by 40. So this NAV belongs to the equity only, right? Bond is a separate part. Bond is a risk-free investment. This is risky investment. You have invested 1 lakh rupees in the equity fund at an NAV of 40. So 1 lakh divided by 40, that comes to 2500 is the starting number of units that you have purchased. Okay. After that, let's take the another NAV, that is 25. 25. Now you tell me, how much is the percentage change? 15 rupees. 15 divided by 40. The moment you will do it, you will get to know the percentage change. That is 37.5% NAV has gone down from 40 to 25. Okay. Now what will be the equity value? It's very simple, sir. The closing unit multiplied by the current market price, which is 25. So 2500 into 25 is nothing but 62,500. So this is going to be 62,500. The bond will stay as it is and the total will be 162,500. Remember, the total will be 162,500 after rebalancing also. That means we are not increasing the funds, we are just shifting the funds. And now what exactly we have to do in order to keep the constant ratio plan? See, what is the constant ratio plan that you followed in the beginning? They said that we have invested 2 lakh rupees equally. So the plan was 50-50, isn't it? The plan was to keep equal proportion in both equity and bond. So if we do that, we will have to just divide 1,62,500 by 2. We have to keep 50% of that in equity. So it comes to 81,250. Am I right? This should be the balance in equity. And the rest is 81,250. Okay. This should be the equity balance and the current NAV is 25. What you are going to do? 81,250 divided by 25 will be the total balance in the closing units. So the total balance should be 3250. How did you reach at 3250? Let me just explain that to you. $81,250 divided by 25. So what is the action that you need to take? It's very simple. Buy 750 units. And it itself means you have to sell off that much of the worth of the bonds. So we are not writing the bond wala part there. So buy 750 unit is the action that you need to take in order to rebalance the portfolio entirely. Now I will just repeat the process. See, we started with this date, 40 was the NAV, 1 lakh was invested in the equity, 1 lakh was invested in the bond. Okay, 2 lakh was the total. Cool, sir. And total number of unit that we did purchase was 2 lakh 2500. This 2500 into 25 was the current value of the equity on the next NAV date. And we saw that the decrease or the change in the NAV was more than 15%, and it triggered the rebalancing activity. 60 to 500, 1 lakh was the before rebalancing position, total was 1,62,500. According to the rebalancing plan, we should have 50% of this much in the equity. So the equity balance should be 81,250. Okay, in order to make it 81,250, we will have to buy something because 60 to 500 is the current balance. So 81,250 divided by 25, the moment we do it, we will get to know the closing balance of the number of units, that is 3250. Earlier it was 2,500, now we have to make it 3250, that means we have to buy the units. Am I right? How many? The difference between these two. So we are going to buy 750 into 25. This is the amount that we are going to sell from the bond and invest in the equity. Okay, let's try one more. The next price is 36. I will write down here 36. What is the change? 11 rupees? Sir, 36 minus 25 divided by 25. It is around 44% of the increment. 44% NAV has gone up. Let's go ahead. What will be the equity value now? It's very simple, sir. The closing number of unit, that is 3250, and the current NAV. 3250 multiplied by 36. That's 117,000. This will remain as it is. 1 lakh? No, sir. This 81,250. The balance that we did live on the last day. 198,250. So should we rebalance? Yes, sir, because the change in the NAV is more than 15%. So what will be the action? 50% of this should be the balance in equity, which is 99,125 and 99,125 and 198,250. So what should be the action? Very simple. First, calculate the closing unit. 99,125 divided by 36. This should be the closing balance. 2753.47. Sir, are we going to round it off to the nearest whole number? No. In equity share, you can only buy 1 share or 2 share, but you cannot do the transaction in decimals. But in mutual fund, you can do that. So 2753.47 is the correct answer. What is the action? Sell. How much? Minus 3250. 496.53 units. And we will come to this. That's the rebalance activity is over. This is the rebalancing activity. That's it. Sell something, buy something. Next, 32. Next date is 32. See, what is the change? 36 minus 32 divided by 36. That is 11.11%. Am I right? And what will be the value of the equity? It's very simple, sir. Current NAV multiplied by the closing unit. 2753.47 into 32. That's 88,111. 81,250. Sorry, not 81,250. It should be 99,125. 187,236. Do you think we should rebalance it? No, sir, because the change is not more than 15%. Change is not more than 15%. We are going to do nothing. So after rebalancing also it will look like this, or you can straight away skip this process of writing anything in this column. Nothing. 2753.47. Let's take another value. After 32 we are going to take 38, and we realize that 38 minus 32 is 6 divided by 32, and the change is 18.75% increment. So the rebalancing activity is triggered because the change is more than 15%. Let's first calculate the current value of equity. 38 multiplied by the closing number of unit, 104632. 99,125, 203757. Okay, so are we going to rebalance? Yes, sir. What is the action here? Half of the total should be in equity. 101878. Okay, and 101878. 203757. What should be the rebalancing activity? First of all, calculate the closing number of units. 101878 divided by 38. That's 2681. This much of the balance should be there in the mutual fund. That means we will have to sell, because the previous balance was higher, na? That means we will have to sell some units. 2753.47. So how many units we are going to sell? 72.46. Sell 72.46 units. That's it. That's the completion of rebalancing activity. Now after 38 we are going to repeat the same process for 37, 42, 43, 50 and 52. Should I do it or should I just take it further? Let's have a look at this place. See, first we bought 750 units, then we sold this much unit, then we sold this much unit, and then what will happen? For the continuous 4 consequent 37, 42, 43, 50 NAV, the continuous 4 NAVs, that means if we go to the table, for all these NAVs there will be no more than 15% change. So if the change is not 15%, we are not going to do the rebalancing, and that's why you will see there is no rebalancing activity in these columns. No sell or buy, nothing is given. And after 50, I think on 50 there is a rebalancing. On 50 there is a rebalancing. And what has happened in this format is that this is before rebalancing, this is after rebalancing. This is before, this is after. This is also a good format. This is a format by the institute. You can follow that. We have taken a horizontal approach. So we have written before and after rebalancing on an adjacent column. But they have written before and after rebalancing activity in the rows. And that's perfect because of the space constraint. So you are doing, this is before and rebalancing activity. You are again going to sell something here, and that's it. This is over. And on the last day, you had 2359.29 units and 52 was the NAV. So you will see on the last day, the market price of your aggressive portfolio. This is equity. Let me just write down in this. This is equity and this is bond. So the market value of your equity component was this much and the total portfolio value was this much. See, this is the answer according to constant ratio plan. Now you tell me one thing. You followed this 50-50 wala thing for the entire 8 to 9 days or 10 days and you have a balance of 2,40,647 in the portfolio. But what if you would have followed a buy and hold policy? At that time you would have purchased 2,500 units at 40 rupees, right? Entirely you might have invested in that 2,500. No, not 2,500. Let me just change the plan. If you would have followed only buy and hold strategy, okay, only buy and hold strategy, and the entire investment would have made in the equity fund and not this aggressive conservative thing, or we can say equity bond thing, then you would have purchased 5,000 unit at the rate of 40, and the total investment would have been 2 lakh rupees in the buy and hold strategy, and that 5,000 units would have been worth 52 at the end, which would have made your portfolio to 2,60,000. 5,000 into 52. Yes. So what is more preferable, 2,60,000 rupees of the portfolio value or 2,40,000 of the portfolio value? Sir, obviously 2,60,000, but it's a sheer luck, we can say, because in this policy, first benefit is you don't have to work at all. You take the action on the very first day and you take the action on the last day. That's it. You don't do anything in between. That's good. First thing. Second thing is the value is higher than the constant ratio plan. And what are the disadvantages in the constant ratio plan? You stayed active for all the days and still have a lower value. So that's a bad thing. That's it. This is what the question was. See, you just have to make sure that you are taking a particular action. There is no one answer at the end. Okay, we'll have to find out CAPM return or something like that. No, nothing. No final answer. This is just an activity that we do. Sell something, buy something, sell something, buy something. So this is a strategy that we have followed. One thing that might come to your mind, the doubt is whether we have to invest equally in the bond and equity for the buy and hold strategy also, and that might be true to some extent, but institute has followed only equity fund in the buy and hold strategy. Why? I will tell you. They said that we want to test one of the techniques on an equity fund she has constructed and compare the gains and losses from the technique with those from a passive buy and hold strategy. This fund consists of equities only. So when we discussed about the buy and hold strategy, she wanted to invest only in the equity fund. That's why we have taken this approach. If you are following buy and hold strategy, invest entire amount in the equity. But if you are following constant ratio plan, invest 50% in the bond and invest 50% in the equity. So that's what the entire game is. I hope you have understood. See, you should take the action of rebalancing only when the market price or the NAV is changing by more than 15%. It can go up or down, but it should be more than 15%. The change, right? So this is the question. Let's go on to question number 91. This is an interesting question also. This is very easy question. Miss Kiran had a surplus fund of 2 lakh rupees on 31st March 2016. She is interested in constructing a portfolio of shares of the core sector to be weighted equally in, underline the word equally. Now she wants to invest 2 lakh rupees equally in rupee value terms. Her friend Shaila, based on her research, advised her to purchase the following shares: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 lakhs divided by 5 becomes 40,000 rupees, and 40,000 should be the investment in each of these. So 100 multiplied by 400 rupees, 40,000. 1000 multiplied by 40, 40,000. 320 multiplied by 125, 40,000. 400 multiplied by 40,000. 200 multiplied by 200, 40,000. So she has invested in different number of shares at a different price, but the total in each is equal, that is 40,000. On April 1, 2016, so that was 31st March, now this is 1st of the April, the prices of these stocks changed. From 400 it has become 300, 40 to 60, 125 to 120 and so on. Now you are required to exhibit how Kiran can rebalance her portfolio on 1/4/2016 so that her exposure to individual stock is maintained at original level. Original levels means equally. So first of all, you will have to find out the current portfolio value. Very simple, sir. Just multiply the number of share with the price per share and you will get the current value. See, new price multiplied by number of share, you will get the current value of 2,13,400. Earlier it was 2 lakhs divided by 5. Now it will be 2,13,000 divided by 2,13,400 divided by 5. So how much that is? So every stock should have a balance of 42,680. 42,680. Every stock should have a balance of 42,680 rupees. Okay, that's what the amount should be in each of them. The current price is this much. Only thing you have to do is 42,680 divided by 300, 42,680 divided by 60, 42,680 divided by 120. That will give you the number of share that you should hold in every stock. So this is 42,680 divided by the market price. So once you do that, see, for the first stock, 42,680 divided by 300. This is the 300. So the number of stock that you should hold is 142.27. The purpose is to keep the balance equal in all the stocks. So whatever is the current portfolio value, divided by 5 and then divide that amount by the number of share, the new price, and you will get the number of shares to hold. Earlier you had 100 shares, right? Now you should hold 142. That means you have to buy 42.27 shares. Obviously shares cannot be purchased in decimal. So you can write down 42 or 43 here. That much of the difference is okay practically, right? Now 42,680 divided by 60 will give you 711. You had 1000 shares, you need to sell off 288. 1000 minus 711, 320 and 355. The difference between the stocks that you had and the stocks that you should have, the number of stocks. So the difference should be the buy and sell. This is going to be the rebalancing activity, the last column. This is going to be the rebalancing activity in order to maintain the equal balance in each and every stock. That's it. The question is over. It's very simple. Was that difficult? See, sir, I will tell you one thing. You purchased 10 shares at 40 and 10 shares at 40. Let's say, for example, okay, this is the market price, this is the number of share, this is the stock AB. So the total is 400, 400, 800. The other day the prices went on to 60 and 30. So you again multiplied it with the number of share and found how much is the total value. So you found that it is 600 and this is 300. So the total is 900. And your strategy is to keep the equal balance. So what are you going to do? 900 divided by 2, that is 450. So 450 should be the balance in each stock. The current market price is this much. What are you going to do? 450 divided by 60. The current price. That means you should hold only 7.5 shares in first stock and 450 divided by 30. 15 stocks in second shares. So what exactly is going to be the action? See, 10 was the earlier balance, 7.5 is the new balance. That means you should sell 2.5 shares. Am I right? Sell 2.5. 10 was the earlier balance in the second stock. 15 is the new balance. That means you should purchase 5 stocks. That's it. By doing this, you will again have equal balance 450 rupees in both. That's what the thing is in this question. Simple. Question number 92 is going to be another question. See, portfolio rebalancing questions are over. There were 3 questions. First one was on the constant proportion portfolio insurance policy. The second one was on buy and hold and constant ratio plan. The third one was also on the constant ratio plan and was very simple. This is going to, the portfolio rebalancing questions are over, and I think only one concept is left now, which is the minimum risk portfolio. And after that, all the other question 93, 94, 95 will not be new. Let's see. An investor has decided to invest 1 lakh rupees in shares of 2 companies, namely ABC and XYZ. Let's name it as A and X, just to simplify. The projections of returns from the shares of the 2 companies along with their probabilities are given to you. So probability, ABC's return and XYZ's return. Okay. You have to find out the return and risk in the individual shares. Can you do that? It's very simple, sir. Return with the probability. Ri is equal to summation of Ri multiplied by Pi. That's what you have to do for all the stocks, both the stocks. And standard deviation with the probability risk is very simple. Ra minus bar Ra. This is the deviation. To remove the negativity, square it, multiply it with the probability, and then do the total. This is going to be the variance and put a square root to calculate the standard deviation. So you can easily calculate the return and risk of the two individual shares. See, it has been given here. I am shifting to the second part. This is homework. This is also homework. The third part is where I am going to teach you. So compare the risk and return of these two shares that you have calculated in the first part with a portfolio of these shares in equal proportion. So 50% and 50% is the weight of both. So now in the second part, you have to calculate the portfolio return, which is nothing but summation of Ri weight I. So whatever return you have calculated in the first part, multiply it with 50% weight and then do the total, you will get the portfolio return. That's very simple. Second part, standard deviation of the portfolio having two securities in that, two assets in that, and it's very simple. A plus B whole square, that is standard deviation of A, weight of A square, plus standard deviation of X, weight of X. X means XYZ square, plus 2 into weight of A, weight of X, standard deviation of A, standard deviation of X, and RAX. Am I right? You have to calculate the correlation coefficient. Instead of this, you can also calculate the covariance of AX. And you can calculate this entire answer by putting a square root. This is also very simple. We have solved a lot of questions on these concepts. My point of taking this question is not to solve the first two parts, but to make you understand how is the third part is going to be. Find out the proportion of each of the above shares, which was 50-50 in the second part. The same has to be calculated here. In the third part, we don't have to calculate anything else but these weights. So that to formulate a minimum risk portfolio, means we have to formulate a minimum risk portfolio. What should be the weight of each stock so that the portfolio risk when calculated will be minimum to minimum. See, there are two things, weight of A and weight of X. And there are 100 probabilities, 100 I can say number of probabilities, possibilities to keep the weights. I can keep it as 1%, 99%, 2%, 98%, 3%, 97%, 4%, 96%. And this is not just the only whole number figure. We can keep it as 1.5%, 98.5% also. So what is that exact weight where we will calculate the standard deviation? If we calculate the standard deviation of the portfolio, the risk will be minimum. And it is very impossible. It is impossible to do it in the class or by hand. So the only thing where we can find out the solution of that is Excel sheet. So let's try all the 100 possibilities, minimum at least 100 possibilities, and find out what is the risk of the portfolio at every possibility. Let's have a look. So this is basically the working that I have already done in the Excel sheet so that we can save the time. What I have done is I have taken the standard deviation that we have calculated in the first part. For ABC, it is 12.95. For XYZ, it is 11.27. Let's have a look once. Let's find out. Yeah, 12.95, 11.27 are the standard deviation of both. So that's what we have taken here. Cool. Then the third part is the covariance. See, the covariance is minus 144.25. This is minus 144.25. Yeah, this part. This is covariance. Weights have been taken as 50%. Now what I did is I took the weights for the first see, for the ABC, I took 0, and then for XYZ, I took 1. And I kept on increasing the weights. See, for this 1%, 99%, 2%, 98%, 3%, 97%. So I tried and tested on 100 different possibilities here. See, from starting with 0% in ABC to 100% in ABC. So it was 0% in ABC, 100% in XYZ, and at the end you will see 100% in ABC and 0% in XYZ. And in the last column, I calculated the portfolio standard deviation. Portfolio standard deviation. I will just show you the formula. Let me just check. It will be very difficult to understand these formulas, but see what I did is in this column, in the last column, in this column I put the formula for the portfolio standard deviation and then the square root. Understand? The square root of this, and the answer comes to this. So if we invest entirely 100% in XYZ, then the standard deviation will be nothing but the standard deviation of XYZ, that is 11.27. See, 11.27 because 100% of the investment is in XYZ. Now if we keep on changing the weights, we can see that gradually the portfolio risk is decreasing. Portfolio risk is decreasing. It has come to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is the objective? Minimum risk. 1, 0.99, 0.93, 0.93, 0.99. Now from this point onwards, you can clearly see the risk is again increasing. The risk is again increasing, and it is going up to 12.95, which was the standard deviation of ABC. So this becomes the range from this standard deviation to this standard deviation. So let's go to the point where we found the minimum risk of the portfolio, which was 0.93, and the weights at that point was 46, 54, 47, 53. So somewhere in between this, see, I told you there are not only 100 possibilities, there can be n number of possibilities. We can take 46.5% and 53.5% as well. So somewhere between these two ratios, the minimum risk is there. Okay, understood the logic? This is the weight that we want to find out. This is the final answer of your third part. But you cannot do that in exam using Excel sheet, right? You should have a formula for that. And the formula for that is not that easy to remember. See, this is the formula. Is it easy to remember? No, sir. It's not that easy to remember. Let me just go through it first. Now, first of all, the second part's answer was the standard deviation of portfolio as 1.25%. You can clearly see if we put that entire answer 50% and calculate the portfolio standard deviation, it came to 1.25%. Let's have a look on the Excel sheet. If you keep 50 as a percentage, see, 50 and 50 as a percentage, the answer comes to 1.25, and that was the same answer coming from the formula. So yes, sir, it is possible to derive this 0.93 also from a formula. That will be called as the minimum variance. This is the minimum risk, right? 1.25 is not the minimum. The minimum is 0.93. Amongst all the possibilities, the lowest possible risk is 0.93. Cool. Now, we have the formula for minimum risk portfolio, where we can calculate the weight of first security in the portfolio. If we come to know the weight of one security, at least the weight of other security is very easy to find out. See, if you come to know about the weight of A, then weight of X will be 1 minus weight of A. Isn't that easy? Yes. So let's find out the weight of A. That's what. So X of ABC is nothing but the weight of ABC. This is the formula. Standard deviation of X square. I will just come to the derivation of that part. Don't worry about it. This is going to be technical, but we will derive this. So weight of ABC is nothing but the standard deviation of X square. Means this is the second security. There are two securities, A and X, in the entire scenario. Okay, let's put weight of A and weight of X is the ultimate thing that we have to calculate. Standard deviation of A, standard deviation of X. So we are calculating weight of A, but the first thing that we are putting in the numerator is the standard deviation of X square. That is the variance minus correlation of AX, standard deviation of A, standard deviation of X. Or you can just write down this entire part as a covariance of AX, isn't it? This is covariance of AX. Do you remember? RAX is equal to into standard deviation of A, standard deviation of X. In the denominator, you take the variance of A, variance of X, both the securities, minus again 2 into covariance. So instead of that, this formula is very easy to remember. The second security variance minus covariance of AX divided by variance of first security, variance of second security, minus 2 into covariance of AX. Okay, let's try putting the values in that, find out the answer, and then we will go to understand the logic of this formula. See, I will write down the formula here. Weight of A is equal to standard deviation of x square minus covariance of ax divided by standard deviation of a square plus standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of ax, right? Let's start putting the values. What was the answer for variance? See, variance of x was 126.98 minus, in bracket minus, covariance itself is in minus 144.25 divided by variance of ABC was 167.75 plus 126.98 minus 2 into minus 144.25. Let's try and find out the answer. $271.23 in the numerator, 167.75, 126.98, 583.23 in the, this is going to be weight of A. So weight of A is equal to 46.50%. See, I told you it will be somewhere near this, and weight of x will be 1 minus 0.4650, 53.50%. So can you get it? Weight of A is 46.5, weight of x is 53.5, and if you go to R working also, it is 46.5 and 53.5, exactly in between these two. Excel sheet and the formula is working. Now tell us the logic of the formula. Sir, it's all okay. We understood your logic of the Excel sheet. We understood that this formula is correct. Okay, hence proved. But what is the logic of this formula? Can we derive this formula? Yes, sir, it is very much possible to derive this formula, and please understand, this formula will be derived from none other than the formula that you have already learned. So if you want to know the derivation, there are two things from here. If you want to know the derivation of this formula, stay with me for the next 15 to 20 minutes, 15 minutes maximum, or else you can skip to the next question if you want to remember the formula, because even after the derivation you will have to little bit remember the formula. So let's start from this point. Derivation of minimum variance formula. What was the portfolio standard deviation? What was that? It's very simple, sir. Weight of A, standard deviation of A square, or I can write down like this. Can I? Weight of A square, standard deviation of A square, plus weight of X square, standard deviation of X square, plus 2 into weight of A, weight of A, weight of X, covariance of AX. Can I take covariance of AX in place of that R way, standard deviation and standard deviation? Yes, sir, we can do that. Okay. Now what I want to do first, my purpose is to come to a formula where only one weight is calculated. There is no other weight in this. Other weight will be calculated simply by 1 minus the first weight. So I will need a formula where only weight of single asset is calculated. I will have to remove the weight of the second part. And how to do that? It's very simple. Can I write down like this? Weight of A square, standard deviation of A square, plus weight of X as 1 minus weight of A square. Because there are only two assets in the portfolio. If the weight of first security is weight of A, the weight of second security will be 1 minus weight of A. Right, sir. Let's do that. 2 into weight of A, and then in bracket 1 minus weight of A in place of weight of X, and then covariance of AX. So let me just do the working. In place of this I have written this, and in place of this I have written this. That's it. This is the only change that I have made. Now the next stage, step by step. Can we solve this 1 minus weight of A square? Yes sir. How to do that? You have learned this in your school days. A minus B whole square is nothing but A square minus B square, A square plus B square minus 2AB. Getting it? See. So weight of A square, standard deviation of A square plus 1 square plus weight of A square minus 2, 1 into weight of A, 2AB. 2 into A means 1, as good as nothing, and weight of A, so 2AB. A square plus B square minus 2AB. A square plus B square minus 2AB. Okay, let's move ahead. 2 weight of A. Then plus, can I multiply this 2 weight of A and covariance of AX in the bracket? Yes sir, we can do that. So it will look like 2 weight of A, covariance of AX into 1, so as good as nothing, minus, let me just shift this to, yeah, minus 2 weight of A square. See, we have 1 weight of A here and weight of A here also, covariance of AX. Okay, so we have expanded this bracket, we have solved this bracket, and we have expanded this one also. Now what is the next stage? See, one thing that we have missed out on this equation is multiplying this with the entire standard deviation of X square. Okay, let me just write it down. Standard deviation of X square. So one more step we are going to follow. We are going to multiply that standard deviation of X square with the bracket. So it is going to be weight of A square, standard deviation of A square plus standard deviation of X square into 1 square plus standard weight of A square, standard deviation of X square minus 2 into weight of A, standard deviation of X square plus 2 into weight of A, covariance of AX minus 2 into weight of A square, covariance of AX. Right, this much. Now we need to understand the derivatives, a little bit about derivatives. What happens in the derivatives is, let's say, I will just change the pen, y is equal to x to the power 5 is given, and you have to solve this. You have to solve this equation with respect to x. Then what happens in the derivatives is, the next step is dy divided by dx. Y becomes dy divided by dx. D itself means the derivatives of y with respect to x. We want to solve this with respect to x, na? That's why divided by dx. And 5 will come in front of the value, this x. X to the power 1 number less, that is 5 minus 1, 4, into dx by dx. Why dx by dx? This dx means we want to do the derivative of this x, the same as y. We took the derivative of y, we will take the derivative of x, and the denominator of dx in this side on this side means we want to solve this equation with respect to x. That's why that with respect to is coming to the denominator, dx and dx. So y with respect to x, dy by dx, x with respect to x, dx by dx. Most of the time it will happen that whenever you will read about this theory or derivation, you will not see this written anywhere. Why? Because this is 1 only, dx by dx is 1. Most of the time we calculate this value against its own value itself. So x with x, that's why dx by dx. Okay, sometimes you might find this as t to the power 5, this such equation. And now if you want to calculate the derivative of it, solve it with respect to x, then it will look like dy by dx 5 t to the power 4 dt by dx. So with respect to x, it is with respect to x, that's why it is in the denominator. Okay, now if the equation is like y is equal to t to the power 4 or x to the power 4, it will be dy by dx is equal to 4x to the power 3, 1 less. Okay, if it is y is equal to x square, it will be dy by dx is equal to 2x to the power 1. Okay, if it is y is equal to x, already there is a power of 1 in the on the x, it will become y is equal to that 1 in the power which is there in the power will come to here. See what will happen. You are not able to see, but there is 1 in the power when we write only x, and that 1 will come in front of it, and x to the power 1 less x to the power 0. See, multiplied by x to the power 0. What is the value of x to the power 0? Sir, x to the power 0 itself is 1. So 1 multiplied by 1, writing it as 1 only. Dy by dx. Let me write it again. So if we have to solve y is equal to x, it will be dy by dx is equal to 1. And if we have to solve y is equal to 4, this is a constant figure, there is no x in that, and we are finding a solution with respect to x, then it will be dy by dx is equal to 0. So if there is any constant which doesn't include x, the value will be 0. In order to summarize all these things, I will just write down the first order function of above equation in derivatives will replace a square as 2a. Am I right? 2 will come in front. A as 1, because 1 is there in the power, and then if we take the 1 here in front, it will be a to the power 1 less means 0. A to the power 0 means 1. So 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. And let's say 4, so 0. So if it is a square, write it as 2a, write it as 1, 4, write it as 0. And also if it is a to the power 3, it will be 2a to the power square. 3a to the power 3 will come in front, a to the power 2, 1 less. Getting it? But we will have to modify this a little according to our equation. So instead of just a square, we will write weight of a square is equal to 2 into weight of a. Am I right? Weight of a is equal to 1, and if there is any constant which does not include a, it will be 0. Do you agree with that? So we are going to do the derivatives of this, and we will find replace these figures. Let's write down from this point now. See, the first is weight of a square, standard deviation of a square. How are you going to write down? Let me just take this here, right? So this weight of a square will become 2 weight of a. We can write it as 2 weight of a standard deviation of a square. Am I right? Standard deviation of a square will remain as it is. Plus, see, this particular part does not include weight of a, and it will be treated as a constant. I will just write down so that this is constant. Now it will be 0. Simply, it does not include. Then second part, weight of a square standard deviation of x square, 2 weight of a standard deviation of x square. 2 will come in front. Minus, see, 2 weight of a standard deviation of x square. This weight of a will become 1. This weight of a will become 1. So 2 into standard deviation of x square, right? Then this part, 2 weight of a covariance of ax. This weight of a again will become 1. I can just simply write down 2 covariance of ax. Weight of a will get removed. And minus, this weight of a square will, in this 2 will come in front. So 2 multiplied by this 2 will become 4. So 4 weight of A will remain covariance of AX. That's it. Getting it? This is the derivation. Now we are calculating a formula for the minimum variance, right? Minimum risk, and the minimum it can go is 0. So the answer to this entire equation should be 0. Only then we will be able to justify the formula that this formula gives the minimum variance. Okay. Now there are how many terms? Let's write down. The first one is this, second one is this, third is this, fourth is this, and this. Okay, let's do one process. Shift this one and this one on the left hand side, or take this part, and this part. Sorry, there are only 5 terms, right? This is so eliminated. 5 terms. This part, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So take 1, 2 and 5 on the left hand side. You can do as it is, whatever you want, but I'm just coming to the formula. So I will just take first part on this side, and I will start with the negative figures. So I will just take this part, 5 on this side, which means left hand side, right? Left hand side. So 4 weight of A covariance of AX minus instead of that we can easily solve it. Okay, let's take the third and the fourth part on the left hand side. So it will be minus 2 into standard deviation of x square will become 2 into standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of AX. Am I right? This part, and then the balance 2 into weight of A standard deviation of A square plus 2 into covariance of AX minus first, second plus 2 into weight of A standard deviation of x square, and fifth 4 into weight of A covariance of AX, right? So 2 terms are on the left hand side, 3 terms are on the right hand side. Let's do something more. See, let's take 2 as a common from all the figures. 2 standard deviation of x square minus covariance of AX is equal to 2 weight of A standard deviation of A square. Okay, one thing that we can call out is 2 into weight of A from all the terms. So I will just write down 2. I will take out 2 into weight of A from all the terms. It will be standard deviation of A square plus standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of AX. I have just taken 2 out of 4, so the balance will be 2. Now you can clearly understand this 2 and this 2 will get eliminated, and the balance will be this much of the formula, this and this. I will just shift this bracket, entire bracket on the left hand side, and it will look like this. Weight of A is equal to standard deviation of x square minus covariance of AX divided by standard deviation of A square plus standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of AX. This is exactly the same formula that you are looking for, or that you have just used in the equation. See, weight of A is equal to standard deviation of x square minus covariance of AX. See, standard deviation of x square minus covariance of AX. Then standard deviation of A square plus standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of AX. Standard deviation of A square plus standard deviation of x square minus 2 into covariance of AX. This is how this formula is derived. But in the center of this derivation, we had to use this derivatives, which you need to have a little knowledge about. Otherwise, though, it's okay. So this is how this entire formula is derived, and I think I have taken more than half an hour to derive this formula. I just told you that I will take 15 minutes, but that's okay. So are you okay with this formula? After understanding the derivation, still you will have to a little bit mug up this formula. There is no other way than to practice and remember the formula. Weight of A is calculated and the other weight will be 1 minus weight of A, and you can easily calculate. This formula gives you the minimum risk because we have already taken 0 on that side, on this side. So the minimum possible risk. See, you cannot eliminate the risk, but you can reduce it to the maximum possible. So this is the formula which will give you the minimum possible risk, and this will give you actually the weights of the stocks that you should include in the portfolio for the minimum variance. Understood the concept? Great, sir. Let's solve one more question on this concept. See, a 2-asset portfolio contains a long position. That means we have a buy position in that. In a commodity T with a volatility of 10%, standard deviation of this T, and a long position in stock S with a volatility of 30. So this is standard deviation of S. The assets are uncorrelated. That means the correlation coefficient between ST is 0. What weight from 0 to 100 of the portfolio should be allocated to the commodity if the goal is the minimum variance portfolio? It's very simple. The goal is minimum variance, right? So you put a formula and calculate the weight of S or T, whatever you want. The first security is T, na? So you take the weight of T. So weight of T, if you take the weight of T, the first standard deviation that you take in the numerator is the standard deviation of the other stock, not T. Standard deviation of S square minus covariance of ST. This will be entirely 0 because the correlation coefficient is 0. RST, standard deviation of S, standard deviation of T. So if this is 0, the entire covariance will be 0. So you put standard deviation of S square, that is 30 square. This will be 0, this will be 0, and the formula will be this much only. See, standard deviation of S square divided by standard deviation of T square plus standard deviation of S square. See, this much. So 10 square plus 30 square, 900 divided by 1000, 90% is the weight that you should put in T and 10% in stock S. Commodity T, stock S, that's it. This is the minimum variance. You can try calculating it on the Excel sheet and you will get the same data. But make sure you keep a correlation coefficient of 0 in that. Okay, so that was it. Question number 94 is going to be the next question, and you know everything about this question. So this is going to be your homework, but yeah, let me just go through it. You have been given with the stock X and Y, and then the Sensex means market. Average return, that means RX and RY and RM. Market return 6%. Variance of the return, that means standard deviation of X square, standard deviation of Y square, standard deviation of M square, that is market variance. B means the beta of X, beta of Y. Beta of market is always 1, right? Correlation coefficient RXY with the stock. Coefficient of determination R square, that is the square of this 0.424. Let me just find out. Yeah, 0.18. I don't think so this will be of any use, but let's see. The coefficient of determination gives the percentage of the variation in the securities return that is explained by the variation of the market index return. That is just the what we can say is the meaning of coefficient of determination. What has been asked to us? Let's find out. What would be the portfolio risk if equal amount of money is allocated? Okay, first they are asking us to calculate the systematic and unsystematic risk of the company stock. So we need to find out the systematic risk of X, systematic risk of Y, unsystematic risk of X and unsystematic risk of Y. Okay, and then the portfolio risk if equal amount of money is allocated. Now, coming to the point, when they ask you about the systematic and unsystematic risk, it is very clear that you are going to use the single index model. According to the single index model, see, I will write it down. The formula is standard deviation of I square is equal to beta I square standard deviation of M square plus error term square. Now, one of the thing out of these three is already given to you, which is the variance, the total risk. This is 6.3 for X and 5.86 for Y. You just have to do the square of the variance, beta, 0.71 square into 2.25. You will get the systematic risk of X. 0.685 square into 2.25. You will get the systematic risk of Y. Then deduct these two answers from the total risk. You will get the unsystematic risk. So the story is over. Easy, easy, easy. Then portfolio risk if the equal amount of money is allocated. you can calculate this through both the methods. Correlation coefficient is also given to you. You can calculate it through the single index model as well, and the a plus b whole square model as well. Okay, this is up to you. See, total variance 6.3 and 5.86. Systematic variance is deducted. And you can come to the unsystematic part also. And this they have calculated it through the what we can say single index model. Apply the single index model formula for portfolio and you will get the answer. This answer, everything is given to you, and this is what you have calculated already. Last question, and this is going to be an interesting question. You remember the concept of short selling? What happens in the short selling? I will tell you. When you don't own the stock, when you do not own the stock and still you want to sell it, what happens in that case is, let's say this is the owner of the stock, this is the broker, this is you, and what are you doing now is, you do not have the stock and still you are selling it to the new buyer. So the moment you want to sell the stocks to the buyer, you will have to borrow that stock first from the broker, and the broker is going to take it on a lending basis from this owner. So basically we can say that this owner of the stock is lending his stock to you through the broker. So he is going to charge some lending fees. He is going to charge some lending fees to you. Understand that. And then you will sell it to the buyer. This is how the short selling process goes. Let's read the question and find out the answer. Nothing is difficult or formula based in this question. So have a look. Mr. A is holding 1000 shares of face value of rupees 100 each. So this is the owner of Messrs ABC Limited. He wants to hold these shares for long term and have no intention to sell. This is the owner of the stock. Now on January 1st, 2020, Messrs XYZ Limited, this is the third party. Stock was of ABC Limited. The party's name was Mr. A, and this is the third party XYZ, has made a short sales of Messrs ABC Limited shares. He sold those shares without owning it and approached Mr. A to lend his shares under stock lending scheme with the following terms. So he went to Mr. XYZ, had to short sell it. Okay. When do you think a person is going to sell the stock without owning it? When he has this apprehension, or he is estimating that the stocks of Messrs ABC is going to fall. So at higher price he will sell, and at lower price he is going to buy to make a profit. So without owning the stocks, he has made a short sell. He sold the stocks to someone else, but he will have to first take it on a borrowing basis. He will have to borrow those shares from Mr. A. He will be the borrower, he will be the lender. So he went on to Mr. A to lend his shares under stock lending scheme, and the terms and condition between Mr. A and Messrs XYZ was as follows. Shares to be borrowed for 3 months by Messrs XYZ from 1st January to 31st March. Lending charges or fees of 1% to be paid every month on the closing price of the stock quoted in the stock exchange. So you need January, February and March endings closing price to calculate the 1% fees which is payable by Messrs XYZ to Mr. A. Bank guarantee will be provided as a collateral for the value as on 1st January 2020. See, he is selling the stock and he is borrowing the stocks from Mr. A. What is the guarantee that Messrs XYZ will return the stocks to Mr. A? There is no guarantee and he can default on that. And that's why he is going to produce a bank guarantee to Mr. A. In case Messrs XYZ Limited defaults, Mr. A can use this bank guarantee to recover his amount. Other information. Cost of the bank guarantee is 8% per annum. Who is submitting the bank guarantee? Messrs XYZ. So he will bear those charges, 8% per annum. So you will have to calculate it for a quarter, that will be 2%. Right. On 29th Feb 2020, Messrs ABC Limited shares quoted in stock exchange on various date are as follows. Why 29 Feb 2020? I don't know. See, on 1st January 2020, this is scenario 1 and scenario 2. Let's forget about the scenario. Let's take the scenario 1. The price was 1000 when we asked him to borrow. Like we want to borrow the shares. It was 1000 rupees at that time. On the first month ending, it is 1020. Second month ending, it was 1040. And the third month ending, it is 1050. Might be the estimated price if it is not the actual. This is the first scenario where the market is going up 20 rupees, 40 rupees and then 50 rupees. And the second scenario is bearish. So please make some corrections. It is not bullish, it is bearish. There are some printing mistakes in this question, so I will just ask you to write down a couple of things before we go on to solve the question. First, you are required to find out the earning of Mr. A through stock lending scheme. See, Mr. A is the owner of the stock and he is going to get the lending fees every month. Is it? Yes, sir. So we will have to first find out the earnings of Mr. A in both the scenarios and total earning of Mr. A during 1 January 2020 to 31st January March 2020 in both the scenarios. And what does that both the scenarios? See, earning is also asked here in the first part, but that was only for stock lending scheme. So the earning from stock lending scheme only will be the first answer, and earnings from stock lending scheme plus the dividend that he is going to receive. See, there is one mistake, we can say printing mistake here that we need to improve. First of all, there are 3 points here. Second point is on 29th Feb 2020, Messrs ABC Limited's, see, ABC Limited declared a dividend of 25%. That's what you have to write. This is the second point. On 29th Feb 2020, Messrs ABC Limited declared a dividend of 25%. See, 25% on a face value of 100 means 25 rupees. That is also an income of Mr. A. Although he has given his shares, but that is not that does not mean he is not going to receive, he has not the right to receive the dividend. He is still the owner of those shares and he has the right to receive that 25 rupees. He will get that 25 as an income. So there will be two types of income to Mr. A during this 3 months period. First is the lending charges and the second one is the dividend. Okay. The third point here is from this. This is the third point. Messrs ABC Limited shares quoted in stock exchange on various dates are as follows. So this is going to be the point number C. So it was like that, but the I think second and the third point got merged by the person who just copied here the answer, the question. So that's my mistake as well. I didn't check this and I'm really very sorry for that. Forgive me. I will just make sure that after this lecture itself the compiler gets updated and the next edition is going to be improved. Okay. So what has happened in the second part? The first part will give you the earnings from stock lending scheme itself. Stock lending scheme. Okay. And the second part will be stock lending scheme plus dividend. The earnings. The third part is related to Messrs XYZ who borrowed the money. What is the profit or loss to Messrs XYZ by shorting the shares using through stock lending scheme in both the scenarios? See, he sold the shares at 1000 and he purchased the shares at 1050. It is very clear that he has a loss of 50 in this scenario. But he sold the shares of 1000 at this point and he purchased it back at 940 and here it is for 60 rupees of his profit. But this loss and profit will be adjusted first for the lending charges that he is going to pay, Messrs XYZ is going to pay to Mr. A, and also the bank guarantee charges. Okay, let's start with the question. First, let's simply calculate the earning of Mr. A. See, it is very simple. 1% of the closing value. 1% at the end of 31st March, 29th Feb and 31st March 2020. 31st January, 29th Feb and 31st March. 1% of it comes to 10.20, 10.40 and 10.50. Do you agree with this? See, 10.20, 40, 50. So in all the 3 months, Mr. A earned a total of 31.10 as a lending charges in the first scenario. Okay. That was, see, 1020 is the market price of one share, and you will understand Mr. XYZ has borrowed 1000 shares from Mr. A. We will assume that all the 1000 shares has been given to Messrs. XYZ. So he will earn lending charges on 1000 shares. This is the lending charges 31.10 on one share. So multiply it with 1000, you will get the total lending charges, and this is the answer to the first part. In the second part also you are going to do the same. Calculate the 1% of all these figures. 9.8, 9.6 and 9.4. For all the 3 months he is going to get this much. So this is the total earning. 28.80 on one share. On 1000 share it will be 28,800. Okay. The second part asks us to calculate the total earning. Earning and total earning is differentiated here with a dividend, and the dividend was paid on the second month ending at 25%. See, so now the second part, dividend is 25 rupees. How come 25? It is 100 rupees of the face value, and 25% is the rate of dividend. Rate is calculated on the face value. So 100 multiplied by 25% is going to be 25. In both the scenarios, the dividend amount will remain same, right? And the earnings from the first part, 31.10. See, 56.10 is calculated as A plus B. This is A and B. So earning from lending charges and the dividend income, the total earning is 56.10 and 53.80. Again multiplied with 1000 shares, because you are going to earn this much on 1000 shares. So the total earning will be 56,100 and 53,800. First two answers were from the angle of Mr. A, who was the owner. Do you need any kind of a formula here? Sir, it's very easy. And the third part is from the person who borrowed the share, who has sold the shares in the market on a shorting basis. Okay. Gain on shortening the shares. Gain or loss on shortening the shares. It's very simple. You sold the shares at 1000 in the beginning, purchased it back at 1050. See, if you are selling it here, you will have to buy it back at whatever the price at the end of the third month. So there is a loss in the first case of 50 rupees. And in the second case, there is a profit of 60 rupees. That much is okay. But you have paid lending fees of how much? 31.10 and 28.80 in both the scenarios. Apart from this, you have paid something to the bank also for the bank guarantee. See, how much? The price of the stocks at that time was 1000 when you borrowed, and the stock lending charges was 8% per annum. For a quarter it will be 2%. 1000 into 2% will be 20 rupees. 1000 into 2% for a quarter, 20 rupees. Getting it? So you earned this much, you paid this much, you paid this much also. This is going to be the net gain. Minus. So 50 rupees of the loss, 31 rupees of the loss, 20 rupees of the loss, 101.10. And in that case, 11.20 is still the profit. So 1000 multiplied by 11.20, this is the total profit. This is on per share basis. Now you might ask, what happened to dividend in case of Messrs. XYZ? See, Messrs. XYZ was not the owner of the shares through this period. So he is not entitled to any kind of a dividend. The dividend declared by the company will go directly to Mr. A. Now in this case, if you include practicality, there will be two things. Because he has sold the shares to someone else, the someone else means the buyer is also entitled to the shares. But we can say that as the dividend was declared on 29th Feb and the books might have closed on 1st January itself. So at that time, the owner of the stock was Mr. A. So on the record date, Mr. A was the owner of the stock, and that's why when the dividend was declared, it entirely went to Mr. A. So neither the new buyer was entitled to the new dividend, and nor this person Mr. XYZ, because he has a short position in that. He was not the buyer. Understood the concept? With this, we end the chapter of portfolio management, and I think one more question is still left, question number 61. So let's take a break of 5% and let's complete that question, and then we'll end this chapter. So yeah, welcome back, and after the break, this is going to be question number 61. That's, I think, the only question left in this entire chapter. Let's complete that, and it's very easy now since you have completed all the other things. Now it will be very easy for me to explain this question to you. The returns of a portfolio A and market portfolio for the last 12 months are indicated as follows. These are not the years, these are the months. So A's return and market portfolio's returns are given to you. Now, you are required to find out the monthly returns attributable to the sheer skill of the portfolio manager. We'll talk about it. Which part of the monthly return is attributable to the higher risk assumed by the portfolio manager? Higher risk means risk is okay. Higher means higher risk. It means than market. So if a particular set of a risk is with the market, and if you are taking the risk higher than the market by investing in portfolio A, so that extra risk that you have taken is giving you how much extra return? Okay. Assume that the risk-free rate of return is 12% per annum. So 12 by 12 is equal to 1% per month. Can I say that? Because these are only months itself. These are monthly returns, not yearly returns. Okay. Good one. So that's it. Now, first of all, we need to understand some concepts. Question number 61. This is return. This is beta. Let's say the security is risk-free security and the return is 4%. Just a random figures. The beta will be 0. The total return is 4%. Okay. Now, if you invest in the market, what happens is the beta comes to 1. Means you are taking some kind of a risk, and the returns comes to 15%. Okay. So can I say that for taking the market risk, the risk here will be called as the market risk, and the premium will be for this much. The premium will be 11%. This is the 11% return for the market risk. If I ask you the return for the market risk, that is only 11%. That's not 15%, because 15% includes the returns for the market risk as well as the return for no risk. Return for no risk is 4% and the return for market risk is 11%. Okay, that's great. Now, if I invest in a stock and let's say it is giving me 1.2 beta. Just give me a second. 1.2 into 11 plus. Okay, and the return of the stock comes to 17.2. This is calculated using CAPM. So that stock's 17.2 return is not the actual return. It is the required rate of return. So tell me one thing. What will you call when you go from 1 to 1.2? What will you call that risk? Can I call it as higher risk? The thing that is asked in the question. Yes, this is the higher risk. This is not the total risk. This is the higher risk. 1.2 is a higher risk than the market. There is a risk, but it is higher than the market. And what do you think is the return? Or we can say premium return for this higher risk, only 2.2%. Can I say? For 0.2 of the higher risk, the return is 2.2%, 15 to 17.2. Right. And the last part. Let's say the stock's actual return comes to 20%. What will you call this return? What will you call this return of 20 minus 17.2. Because this 2.2 includes the entire higher risk that you have taken by investing in this stock. If you are getting this much of the return, then you will dedicate that 2.2% to higher risk from 15 to 17.2. But if you are actually earning 20%, so the extra 2.8% that you have earned, what exactly you are going to call this 2.8%? This is the sheer skill of the portfolio manager. This is not because of the risk. Understand, the risk return is given here. The risk return is given here. But this is not this is not because of the risk. This is because of the skill of the portfolio manager by creating such a portfolio, by doing some rebalancing or anything. He has done very well job. This 2.8%, the credit of this goes to the portfolio manager who has invested in the stock very smartly. This is what the sheer skill, we will call it as the sheer skill of portfolio manager. So the question is asking you only about these two answers. That's it. They are not asking you to calculate the return. They are asking you to calculate the return for the higher risk and return for the sheer skill of the portfolio manager. So all in all, we need three answers: market return, stocks required rate of return, and stocks actual return. And the difference between these two will be called as the risk, the return for the higher risk. The difference between these two, required and actual, will be called as the sheer skill of the portfolio manager, return for this. And if the question comes in exam, they might also give you this information. They might also ask you to find out the return for the market equivalent risk. Market equivalent risk, then the answer will be 11%. Obviously, they have left this in this question. No? They have not asked anything about this particular scenario. They can ask next time. So please be careful about it. The answer is 11% if you are taking the return equivalent to the market risk from 0 to 1, from risk free to risky. Okay, let's calculate these two answers now. The only three figures you need is the market return, CAPM return, and the stocks return. See, these two are very easy to calculate. The market return, I will tell you, the market return and the actual stock return. The difficult part will only be CAPM return. Why? Because we need beta for that, and beta is not given in the question. We will have to calculate it first. Okay. See, portfolio return, this is going to be the actual return. Now this is the standard deviation. You will have to calculate the actual return based on these returns. So total of these returns divided by 12, average return of A, actual. And also for the market actual return, you can calculate total of all the 12 returns divided by 12. The only thing is you need to calculate beta. How to calculate that beta? So beta can be calculated using regression analysis, right? Regression analysis. See, question is very clear with this figure. And the portfolio is fully diversified. What do you think the meaning of that fully diversified is? Means unsystematic risk is 0. Fully diversified. Whenever you diversify the portfolio, you keep on reducing the unsystematic risk. And if the statement is fully diversified, it means the unsystematic risk has been removed from the portfolio. Now the only risk is the systematic risk. Okay, I will talk about it. Let's first find out the beta. Let me come to this point directly. So in order to calculate the beta, they should have used the regression analysis or the correlation analysis. And I was also of the same view. But then I found that the regression analysis is giving you this much answer as the beta, 0.1832. Right? If you come to the market beta, it is 1. And if you come to the portfolio beta in this question, it will be 0.1832. And it is very clear from these figures that we are not taking higher risk by investing in the portfolio. We are not taking higher risk, right? And if we are not taking higher risk, why the question is asking us to find out the return for the higher risk assumed by the portfolio manager? So now it becomes ambiguous question, that if we really want to go with this 0.18 through 1832 beta or not. But then this question takes the turn, and this small statement of portfolio is fully diversified makes some sense. It means unsystematic risk is zero, and if you apply the single index model to this portfolio, the standard deviation of the portfolio square means it becomes systematic risk plus unsystematic risk, right? Let me write down. Beta of the portfolio square, standard deviation of m square plus unsystematic risk, which comes to 0. That means the standard deviation of the portfolio square is equal to beta p square and standard deviation of m square. Means the total risk is nothing but the systematic risk itself, because unsystematic risk is 0. And if you keep on solving this equation, you will get beta of the portfolio is equal to standard deviation of the portfolio divided by standard deviation of the market. So by just calculating the standard deviation of both of these two, see, you have been given with these two figures, standard deviation of both, you can directly calculate the beta. And when you do that, it comes to 1.6223 divided by 0.9498. 1.71. Now it is very apparent and can be easily taken that beta of the market is 1 and beta of the portfolio is 1.71, and yeah, actually we are taking higher risk than the market. And now the question can be easily solved by taking beta of 1.71. So have you understood the ambiguity? Let me just summarize that particular point. We need to calculate the beta in order to calculate the CAPM return, right? But when we calculate the beta using regression or correlation analysis, the answer comes to 0.1832, somewhere near this. And at that point, we come to this conclusion that we are not taking higher risk in this portfolio. We are taking, in fact, lower risk. So market's beta is 1 and the portfolio beta is 0.1832. We are taking the lower risk. Why the question is asking us to calculate the return for the higher risk assumed by the portfolio manager. And that's when this entire regression analysis goes in vain. And this is an ambiguity because you cannot deny the answer of that beta as also, na? No matter what, you cannot deny this particular theory, regression analysis and correlation analysis. So this comes to the ambiguity part. And at that point, this extra statement that portfolio is fully diversified plays a big role. Whenever you write portfolio is fully diversified, it means you have removed all the unsystematic risk. So theoretically, unsystematic risk becomes 0. Practically, never. Theoretically, it becomes 0. And when you apply the single index model or sharpest index model on the standard deviation of the portfolio, and the unsystematic risk is 0, that means the total risk is equal to the systematic risk itself. And when you solve it, you can calculate the formula of the beta, and then it comes to 1.71. Since you have calculated the beta, let's calculate the required rate of return. So average returns of the stocks, market, and risk-free return is 1%. Are you okay? Risk-free return per month is 1%. And the beta of the portfolio is 1.71. Am I right? 708. So with the help of RM, RF and beta, can we calculate the required rate of return? Yes, sir. See. RF 1%, beta 1.708, RM 1.4558 and RF 1.0000%. This becomes the required rate of return. Now let me just plot it in a proper way so that I can calculate the final answer. This is going to be return. This is going to be beta. So the risk-free rate of return is 1%, beta is 0. When it comes to market, the return is 1.4558 and the beta is 1. When it comes to CAPM stocks return for CAPM means required rate of return only, it comes to 1.7785 for 1.71 of the beta. And when we calculate the actual return of the stock, it goes to 2.1825 as it has been calculated above. Okay. Now, the difference between this is 0.71, which is the higher risk, and for that the return is 1.7785. See, I will write down 1.7785 minus 1.4558. So 0.3227% is the return for the higher risk taken by the portfolio manager. And the difference between these two is sheer skill of portfolio manager. The answer will be 2.1825 minus 1.7785. 0.404%. So shear skill, net selectivity means shear skill here 0.404 and 0.3227. Getting it? These two are the final answers. So it is very difficult to understand why these returns have been deducted, but yeah, from that point you can easily find out the reason why higher risk is said, why shear skill is said for that much of the return. Clear with this example? With this particular example, we are done with the portfolio management chapter. I know I have taken a lot of time. In the next lecture, we are going to start with the mutual fund without any discussion. Please make sure, so without informing you again, please make sure you are revising the charts and the formulas every day. Okay. Second thing, before starting the lecture, please make sure you are revising the entire concept from the start of to the point where we are taking the lecture. Also, solve the questions first by yourself, do the mistake, and then come to the class. If you're not following it, you are on the wrong path. The path that I have suggested you will obviously ask you for the hard work and the time, but there is no other way to have a strong grip on the subject. Unless and until you give a time and put a hard work, you are not going to get 80 plus in this subject. So if you want to follow correct path, just go for it. If you want to get the good marks, follow the correct approach and then come to the class. Just don't watch how to drive videos only on YouTube. If you are watching how to drive a car videos on YouTube, make sure that you do the practice by actually driving a car. So that actually driving a car is missing in your practice. So I hope you understand what exactly I want to say. Bye bye for now. Will be certain not satisfied. Okay, don't know. मेरी इस पे एक ही क्वेश्चन है और ये सबसे बड़ा आपका in that, so that's why there are not going to be any question. Rest for this chapter, for this question, you don't want to have more knowledge about it. Fuck man, तो ये है हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट. अब मिनिमम रिस्क पोर्टफोलियो में वेट ऑफ ए